This Insane Solar Warlock build destroys everything, including GMs, raids, dungeons, and especially the all-new Horde mode, Onslaught. With it, you will spawn ridiculous amounts of orbs, cause endless ignitions, and be able to pop a well every 30 seconds to a minute. This build is not only the perfect build for the new Onslaught mode, but will also work in any season regardless of the artifact mods. So grab your flame retardant boots, slap on this loadout, and get ready to live the Pyromaniac's dream. Without further ado, here's the build. For our subclass, we are going to run Solar Warlock. We want the Well of Radiance Super, Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Incinerator Snap, and Fusion Grenade. Honestly, if you really prefer to run a different ability, go for it, but the Well of Radiance is a must. For our first aspect, we want Heat Rises, which allows us to consume our grenade, giving us heat rises and sending a burst of healing energy that will cure nearby enemies. Final Blows while airborne will increase our timer of our Heat Rises buff and grant us anywhere from 20 to 50% melee energy upon defeating a target, depending on what level they are. For our second aspect, we want Touch of Flame. Touch of Flame supercharges our fusion grenade, causing it to explode 2 times, dealing massive damage. For our fragments, we are building heavily into ignitions. First, we want Ember of Ashes, which increases our scorch stacks by 50%, allowing us to cause and spread ignitions more easily. Next up, we want Ember of Eruption. This allows our ignitions to do increased AoE damage, making our explosions approximately 20% larger. Thirdly, we want Ember of Combustion. This allows Final Blows with a Solar Super to cause an ignition. What many people do not know is that solar weapon Final Blows inside a well actually count towards this fragment, allowing us to cause a ridiculous amount of ignitions. Please consider subscribing if you didn't know that. And finally, we want Ember of Char, which allows our solar ignitions to spread scorch, and trust me, we will be causing a lot of ignitions. Speaking of solar weapons, our exotic weapon of choice, the Tommy's Matchbook, is a fantastic choice for this build. Its exotic trait, Ignition Trigger, allows firing 20 rounds within a short period of time of each other to trigger overheat on our Tommy's Matchbook. Something that a lot of people seem to not know is that the overheating will not only allow you to scorch enemies, meaning Tommy's Matchbook is capable of intrinsically stunning unstoppable champions, but it also grants a whopping 99% damage buff to our Tommy's Matchbook. Now, of course, it drains 16 HP from the wielder every 0.4 seconds until reaching critical health, but with the amount of wells that we're going to be spamming, I guarantee you we do not need to worry. We also have the ability to hipfire to reduce the self-damage by 25% thanks to its perk, Heatsink. Now we have a way to constantly cause ignitions, but we still need that insane regen for our Well of Radiance, and that's where our exotic armor of choice, the Phoenix Protocol, comes in. Phoenix Protocol grants us super energy for defeats and assists from inside the well. It's a bit unclear exactly how much super energy you get back. I found conflicting numbers online, but just know that by the time your well runs out, it's usually already recharged by 75 to 100%. Since this build is all about endgame viability in any season, I won't provide specific examples of artifact mods to use, but generally speaking, if there's a solar-focused artifact mod in whatever season you use this, choose those ones. For armor mods, I recommend the following. Prioritize Resilience, Discipline, and Recovery in that order. Our super regen will be plenty strong with Phoenix Protocol, so feel free to use Intellect as a dump stat. On the helmet, I recommend 1 Solar Siphon, 1 copy of Ashes to Assets, and 1 Dynamo. On the arms, I recommend Firepower, Bolstering Detonation, and Fastball. On the chest, I recommend 1 of each light resist mod, meaning Arc, Solar, and Void, but if you feel like you're okay without them, by all means, equip what you want here. On the legs, we want Recuperation, Innervation, and 1 Solar Weapon Surge. Finally, on the class item, we want Powerful Attraction, Bomber, and Time Dilation. When we combine all of this, we have one of the best support builds in the game, which also is capable of dishing out some absolutely ridiculous damage and ad clear. Also, intrinsically, the Tommy's matchbook will be able to stun unstoppables with the ignitions, and when our Well of Radiance is up, we will be able to pop barrier shields. Now the other weapon that I recommend for this build would be the Hierarchy of Needs bow. I realize the Hierarchy of Needs is a dungeon exotic coming from the Spire of the Watcher dungeon, and not everyone may have it. So if that's you, I would encourage you to check out our Discord. We do all sorts of Catalyst help runs, exotic help runs, GM help runs, and more, all live on stream. So if you want some help to get an exotic or a catalyst, the link is in the description. The gameplay loop for this build is about as easy as it gets. Charge up your super as you normally would, and use Tommy's matchbook to generate orbs to charge it faster. Once you have your well, pop super and start unloading Tommy's matchbook in the general direction of the enemy, and watch everything burn and explode right in front of your eyes, you absolute pyromaniac. Then check out the fact that you already have well over half your super back, and repeat this and watch the world burn. This build is a ton of fun and easily the best support build for endgame content. It's also extremely user-friendly as Phoenix Protocol and Tommy's matchbook are easily obtainable by any new player. Sometimes even I'm tired and just struggle to play with an aggressive build, and when that happens, I whip out the old reliable here and go to town. I'm talking any GM, raid, or dungeon, and this thing cooks. So if you were looking for the #1 build to bring into the brand new Horde mode releasing today, or if you were just looking for a solid build to bring into the final shape, you have found it. With that, my name is D2 Nova. Thank you for watching and have an amazing rest of the day. Peace.